Lack of motivation, the one thing that holds us back from glory. There are so many projects you could do if only you had the drive to do them. But what if you did? Hey everyone, and welcome to another video from Odyssey Frontiers. In this video, I'll share 5 steps that are super important to boost your motivation when developing games especially, or any other big projects. Before I get started, I'm Caleb, the one-man team behind the studio and all the projects under it. If you are liking what you are seeing so far, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Let's get right into the video. I wanted to first say that staying motivated isn't always easy. It takes mental discipline and some figuring out what works best for you. But with these steps that I'm going to outline here, you'll at least have an idea of what you can do to boost your motivation to complete your game development project. So the very first thing is getting into a routine. We humans tend to rely a lot on a routine. We tend to really like having consistency, and we can get a lot of stuff done if we know when we're going to be doing it and actually set aside time for that. It's way more reliable than waiting for motivation to just kind of happen, because I know, at least for me, I would much rather be doing something else sometimes than working on my game or working on a video. And if I just go and do something else, I'm not going to get to that. It just takes some sitting down and making up a schedule and actually sticking to that schedule to get stuff done. And sometimes it's best to get even just a little bit done every day, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes. It's something. Now, are you going to finish a game with 5 to 10 minutes a day? You're not. It's going to take forever. But having that little bit of consistency at the very least, because I know, at least for myself, and I'm sure you too, your schedules are very busy, especially when you combine school or work or anything like that. And it's important to just treat this, like game development or whatever your project is, like a job or like a regular class. You show up no matter how you feel. Now, obviously, you're not going to get as much work done if you're not feeling so into it and really exactly what you want to do that day. But, it helps just having, again, that consistency and getting into that routine. And there are other tools out there as well, like calendars or alarms or reminders. I use the Apple Reminders app. That helps me a ton. And my calendar, I just get home from work or school and I know how much time it is till I need to do the next thing. And so I just kind of fill that time with game development or YouTube editing, something like that, which is not always fun. I don't always want to do it, but I know it's important and I actually want to get somewhere with it. I actually want to get my game done. So I actually put in that time. It's not easy. I want to emphasize that. It's not easy, but it's really, really important. But over time, it'll definitely feel like part of your day. It'll feel like part of your week. Once you put in that time every day, which eventually it'll just amount to just kind of a routine, just kind of a habit of working on either your game or videos, video editing, whatever it is that you're working on. Just putting aside that time for that will make it feel like part of your schedule, something that you just do. That brings me on to my next step, which is to vary up your work. This pertains to a lot of things, especially in game development. There are lots of different things, especially for me as a solo game developer. I'm wearing quite a few different hats. So I'll be working on, say, art one day, or coding the next, or game design, like level design, designing the UI, the user interface, designing menus, marketing, working on publishing stuff, lighting, all that fun stuff. It's a lot, but sometimes switching up work helps a lot with that. Because if I'm doing art for weeks on end, it definitely gets kind of boring after a little while, or to coding or debugging or something. Yeah, it needs to be done, and it may not be the most efficient thing to switch up what you're doing, but if you're feeling burnt out on something, there's usually another part of whatever it is that you're working on that may feel different to do. For example, when you're doing videos, you are either writing a script or recording the video or editing the video. Certain parts, they all three need to be done, but you can do different parts at different times and spend more time on one part or another part to get it just right. But the important part is that you actually get those different steps done eventually. And in this case, it's sometimes easier to just save the repetitive, easier tasks for when you're feeling less motivated, something that you can just get out of the way, a lower level task rather than some big monumental task. Because when you're just getting into the swing of things, when you were out doing something else like school or work, going back into that and starting on some super difficult task is not going to be the easiest thing. And it's much easier to feel motivated to do something when you just kind of start with some smaller, lower level task and then work your way up to the bigger ones. Switching to another part of the process will definitely help to avoid frustration. This definitely helps keep your mind engaged and prevents burnout, prevents boredom, prevents a lot of those extra negative feelings, because burnout is the biggest enemy of motivation. When you do something a lot and it just feels like you're always working on the same thing or some of the similar things, it definitely leads to burnout, and burnout takes away your motivation. I've seen it, I've done it. It's not fun. The third step I want to go over is planning out your work. Plans are super important, and it just has multiple different benefits, but in this case with motivation, it definitely helps to keep everything moving smoothly. Having a clear plan makes that process so much less overwhelming and much more achievable, because you can see what the end goal is supposed to be, and not only that, you can see the steps to actually get there. So breaking down your project or your video game into small, actionable tasks, like, say, finish this level, but in order to finish that level, I need to move this car here and move all these obstacles in place and place all these lights, or something like that. Like, it just makes everything work together so much better, and you can, once you're done something, you can look at the next thing and be like, oh, I know exactly what I need to do. So setting realistic deadlines is another part of this as well. Having something to work towards, a goal, even if you don't have a boss over your head telling you to do stuff, you're kind of your own boss maybe. Setting realistic deadlines for yourself at that point is very important, so you can actually get that stuff done. And there's some other like tools and stuff that you can use for that. I don't mainly use too many tools for that. I did use Milanote for a while, and I've used like my calendar and stuff, or just a notebook. I definitely use my notebook a lot. Regularly reviewing these goals is also very important. It just helps to stay focused on what the end goal is and kind of seeing, what the next process is, what the next step is. So you kind of know where you're going from there, and just helps you stay motivated and actually keep up with whatever it is that you're doing. And then if you always know what you have to work on next, it just reduces the procrastination of, well, now I have to figure out what I'm going to do next. That, believe it or not, is one of the biggest things that takes away from my time. Is if I don't know exactly what I need to do next, I may not even start, because I don't want to take the time to look into, I have to do this and I have to do this, and I'll just spend so much extra time just kind of playing around with whatever it is that I'm working on and not really getting much done. So the fourth step here is to discuss this with other friends or family and just sharing your work with others. Having other people is super, super important for this, because it helps you get out of that bubble of just yourself, where in your own mind, working on something and maybe seeing it get a little bit better, you're eventually, at least for me, and for the majority of people, if you work on something long enough, you're gonna hate it by the end of it. It sounds weird, but it's true. You're gonna hate it because you're seeing it all the time. You know exactly what every flaw is. You know exactly what to do to beat the level or beat the game. You know exactly where all the flaws are, and then you're gonna just get stuck in this endless loop of always wanting to revise, and that's not good. Don't do that. Sharing your work with people provides so much accountability and support for that. It just keeps you motivated, and other people just telling you that it looks good, or hey, you're doing this really well, or hey, how's this going? How are you doing with this and this? Knowing somebody's going to be checking on you definitely boosts that amount of motivation that you get with that. Because if, instead of a boss, which may be too overbearing or something, having a family member or a good friend to kind of look over your shoulder sometimes and keep nagging you about it. Hey, how's this going? Are you almost done with that? And, then somebody's watching that, somebody's looking for it. And also on this note, having some sort of YouTube channel, it doesn't even need to be too fancy or anything, just kind of giving updates or on social media, whatever works for you, and having even 1 or 2 people that'll be looking at that and seeing how you're doing and wanting to see updates. It just helps keep you motivated because people are waiting. People want to see your end product. Showing progress to other people is really important. It just helps, again, with this accountability and keeping others updated for that, and then getting feedback. Again, this also helps improve the quality of your project. Other people will see some flaws, but maybe not as many as you, and they might see things that you never saw. And they'll be able to give you good feedback for that of what actually matters to the end consumer. And the very last step I want to go over is getting small projects done first. Starting out with small projects, small games, just little game jam games if you want. Those are really, really helpful for getting a hang of things and kind of learning how to do it, what workflow works best for you. And there's also that extra bit of affirmation once you get it done, that you actually see that you finished a project. And going through that process of finishing a project is super, super exciting, because then you can actually look back and say, hey, I know what it's like to finish a project. I want to finish this one. Completing smaller projects definitely helps keep you motivated to completing the larger ones in the future as you go on. Yeah, motivation just isn't constant. It's built through discipline and consistent effort. It takes some small planning at first and eventually getting to that point of knowing what you want to do and how you're going to get there. It definitely helps to always plan out and confide in other people to get that motivation then. And that's all for today. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And please leave any comments or video suggestions in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to check out my other ones I put out to help you on your game development journey here. Thank you for watching.